this one's for you. That one, this one's for you, but it goes in your other folder. This goes in your orange folder. You're right next to Sarah. Okay, this is for the second meeting. That is for the second meeting. Did everybody sign in? Orange page, please.
I did not sign it.
Do I need to sign in? No, not you. Are you taping? Yes, I am. How's it going? Hi. Here you go. Living the dream. That's the packet for tonight. For the public hearing. That's for the second meeting, Pat. So just sign in because
Yeah.
you know you want to stay for the second one. Riveting stuff. Automatic. Does Lisa need one of these? No. Okay. Okay, I'm almost there, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
Yeah, sign in both of them because I know you're gonna stay. Pat, here you go. Well, you got a folder today. It's a Christmas present. Okay, the sticky, where's the sticky stick? I put it in. Okay. Oh, is that right? Yeah, you're already recording? Yeah. Uh-oh. Okay. Mr. Chairman, we're already recording.
Oh, fantastic.
So, do we want to?
Yeah, let's go ahead.
Okie dokie. Let me get my paperwork together here. Where's my agenda? Okay, planning and zoning, public hearing of December 12th called to order at
6:29.
6:29. I shall establish roll call. Floyd Jenkins.
Here.
Melissa Wilson.
Here.
And Chairman Rex Dornbos.
Here.
Okay, quorum has been established.
All right, looks like we have one agenda item on the public hearing meeting tonight, and that's the Barry Grice, minor subdivision replat application. Is that correct, Christine?
Yes, sir.
And can you tell us what we are being asked to do tonight?
Okay, so we have been working on this process for a while. Application was originally submitted in July. We held a public hearing in August. Subsequently, the town council held a public hearing in October. At that October meeting, they remanded it back to the Planning and Zoning Commission to identify two items. The two items that they asked us to identify were consistency of the proposed subdivision with the Town of Alpine Municipal Master Plan and compatibility of the proposed subdivision with adjoining land uses. Upon consult of legal counsel, it was stated that I needed to complete a 30-day publication process. That process was shortly after the town council remanded it back. And so that's where we are today, our 30-day time frame for a secondary public hearing for the Grice addition. The town council will also have an additional public hearing, and their public hearing is scheduled for December 19th, which is obviously next week at 6:30. Again, upon advice of town council, those two advertisements were put together because it's a secondary public hearing, but it has had an additional 30-day time frame for both of those.
Each were advertised.
Each were advertised for that.
We're just doing them back to back.
We're just doing them back to back,
Gotcha.
okay?
Okay. So we have 2 questions tonight.
We have 2 questions tonight, so, but I want to maybe make a little bit of a clarification for everybody that's here. As part of our procedure, I know you guys really can't see this map, but I'll humor me, okay? So, property is right here, and we have a 500-foot notification zone, which everybody got a packet, and that's that orange circle. So everybody in that orange circle was sent a secondary notification of tonight's public hearing. There has been some discussion that the notification needs to go to a broader range. My land use development code regulations stipulate 500 feet, so I make my complete circle. So I just want to make that clear to everybody.
So, but that's a 500 feet that actually gets mailed out to individuals.
To individuals.
It's still,
It's still
Public.
in the newspaper, on the town
For
website.
everybody.
Right.
got it.
So if you live over here, if you're on the website, or if you're reading the newspaper, you're gonna know about the public hearing. You might not specifically get the actual notification, but that is what the Land Use Development Code has established for our procedure to follow.
Got it. Okay. And you mailed this, you did all the mailings,
I did all the mailings.
and when did you get back?
Okay, so, I remailed, notifications were mailed. In total, there was 47 mailings that were sent out. Of those 47 mailings, 3 mailings were held by property owners having more than 1 property within the given mailing radius. Again, it should be noted that some of the property owners in the notification area have additional properties within the incorporated boundaries of the town of Alpine. Written objections were received by 2 legal property owners, the Rogers and the Parkins. However, additional objections, opposition was received by members of the Parkin family, the Clements, the Parkins, and the Moses. And again, everybody has that, so those comments are attached, who also utilized the property. You want me to just keep on?
Yeah, so we have these available up front here, is that correct? So we don't.
We have those available in everybody's little orange folder.
Okay, got it. So we don't necessarily have to read each one into minutes, they can
No.
be attached.
We're gonna incorporate those into the attached minutes.
Okay, got it. All right, go ahead, thank you.
Okay, so, again, we were asked to identify 2 items. Consistency with the proposed subdivision within the town of Alpine Municipal Master Plan. The proposed subdivision is consistent with the municipal master plan, which identified that single-family homes represent 92% of all housing in the community. Utilizing stick-built construction, single-family housing is located in almost every subdivision within Alpine. The master plan identifies all of the improved property sales, included properties that were less than 1 acre in size. Most properties were less than half an acre in size. The master plan also identifies potential opportunities for future residential expansion. Future residential demands will occur in various subdivisions within the community and represent other potential locations for future housing development. The master plan identifies that continued increases in the cost of residential housing in Teton County will continue to attract a growing number or working Teton County residents to Alpine. It is expected that this working commuter market will primarily desire to purchase single-family homes. It is noted that the Town of Alpine Master Plan, although developed and finalized in 2006, identifies the proposed subdivision is consistent within the Town of Alpine Municipal Master Plan. So, question 1. Question 2, compatibility of the proposed subdivision with adjoining land uses. Upon review of the adjoining land use in the immediate area, I'm looking at this one, guys. In the immediate area of the proposed replat, all adjoining lands are within the single-family residential zoning district. Although parcel sizes do vary, if allowed to replat, the subject parcel appears to be compatible/consistent with the adjoining land uses. Size identification shows that 1.88% of the properties are 1 acre in size, 10.34% of the properties are within 0.50 to 0.59 in size, 6.58 of the properties are within 0.4 to 4.9 in size, 0.47% of the properties are within 0.70 to 0.79 in size, and 0.94% of the properties are within 0.60 to 0.69 in size. So in closing, it appears that the subject replat application does fit within the Town of Alpine master plan, and that the adjoining land uses would be consistent with the Alpine Land Use and Development Code regulations.
So are those percentages town-wide? Or is that in the neighborhood?
Those percentages are specific to
To
this
the
area,
neighborhood.
this neighborhood.
So,
The
and how big are, how
the
big?
adjoining land uses, but not, okay, so if these, I mean, they're adjoining, but they're within the radius. So I went within the radius.
The 500 foot
The
radius.
notification radius.
Remind me, how big are the parcels going to be?
The parcels are,
He has a 1 acre lot splitting in half? So they're, so they fall into the,
0.43.
Yeah.
2 at 0.43.
.43, .64, .63, and .43.
all right. Okay. I don't really have any other questions. Melissa, do you have any other questions?
I don't. I'm just not for sure, what the concerns are, what all the concerns are with having, I mean, cause it's still,
Well, I just think the town council had 2 questions that
Right.
were up in the air.
and well, and it's with the master plan, which was one of their questions.
Right. And then the other one was, does it fit into the master plan, and does it fit into the size of the overall
Yeah.
neighborhood? Or is it consistent with the neighborhood? And you're
It
keeping
seems
this
like it
R1,
is.
right? It's, so
Yeah.
everything around that's R1.
Yeah, it's all still gonna be R1.
Floyd, do you have any questions?
I do not. It looks like we supplied all the information for the 2 questions.
I want to open this up to in any public insight. I want to make sure that we're addressing the questions that the town has asked us to address, which is, does it fit in the neighborhood? Does it fit in with the master plan? So, anyone want to comment on this? Yes, please.
Yeah, and make sure and turn it around, boss.
Yeah, if you'll hit that button.
Hit that little red button there, or black button, sorry. Yep.
Thank you. Thank you for the time to speak.
Yeah.
I have issues to address that may or may not fall within what you just described, but they certainly fall within whether or not this request falls within the purpose, intent, and codes for zoning and fire protection. And I think it's very relevant that you hear it. The other thing that I will address, I sent a large document out that I hope all of you got a chance to read. My concern is that while, well, let me just go right into it. The scenarios I painted there are just that, scenarios of what might happen. And some people have said, scenarios are just make-believe and what-ifs. Decisions should not be made based on scenarios that may or may not ever happen. But that's not really germane. For example, when traveling in Wyoming, I anticipate scenarios where I might get stuck in the snow. I plan ahead, carry shovels, tow ropes, sleeping bags, I travel slower, I make more precautions. So scenarios are part of planning, to anticipate and imagine what could happen and prepare in case it does. So the first point that I want to address is the zoning regulation. It says the intent and purpose of single-family designation is to limit the density of residential populations. No, it doesn't say limit the density of homes or the number of buildings or the number of lots or even the size of the lots. I'm not particularly concerned about there being 4 lots or 4 homes in this space, nor am I particularly concerned about the anticipated size of each one of these lots. What I am concerned about is the population density, the number of people that could potentially be in that space. In the request for replat, the developer notes, and I quote, "The need for new housing in alpine areas evident by the recent construction of apartment buildings at Boardwalk and the proposed construction of additional apartments in other areas." The need for apartments is not the same thing as the need for single-family dwellings. The true evidence, the best evidence for more single-family dwellings would be to talk to realtors, which is what I have done. 4 months ago, I asked 3 realtor companies in this area, and they all said they had no prospective buyers looking for property for a single family to buy and move into. I asked this question just a couple of weeks ago of 2 realtors who gave me the same answer. However, one of them did say, if I know of a place that could be repurposed as an Airbnb, that realtor said she had interested buyers. So yes, there is a need for additional housing in Alpine, but not new single-family homes, but rather apartments and other short-term rentals, primarily for seasonal workers in Jackson. I am also absolutely convinced that the developers know exactly what the true need is. Through their comments in meetings, through their documents, their covenants, the example of what they quote, apartments, for the need, I'm convinced they will market these homes to potential investment buyers interested in short-term leases and rentals. And even if that is not their intention, it will surely be the intention of any future buyers. When I looked at the covenants, it occurred to me, I certainly don't know anyone who's looking for a long-term, single-family home where they are not allowed to park a camper, a trailer, or a boat, where they must pay a third party to maintain a shared driveway to an amount of money over which they virtually have no say. Rather, that is the description of the kind of situation you would be interested in buying if you were looking to invest in short-term rental property. Coupled with the research I provided you on real estate and short-term rental, the future of this replat is a space with 4 homes at time occupied by up to 24 or more people and a shared driveway that will be used as a shared parking lot for 12 or more vehicles. Think the decision we make does not just affect the current neighborhood or current residents, but will affect the development and use of this space for hundreds of years, many generations. I imagine many of you read the recent article in the Whole Scroll titled 5-Bed Home, 9 Occupants, 8 Lawsuits, Sublet Hits Boiling Point. We know what's going on in Jackson. Once a home is built and purchased, nobody inspects or confirms or enforces single-family zoning regulations. Nobody checks on who or how many or for how long people live in those homes. Now, I know it is not the job of planning and zoning to limit or set controls on how homes are used, but recognizing its potential and doing what you can to prevent or prepare for these scenarios is exactly what it means to plan. The zoning code states it is the intent and purpose of single-family designations to limit the density of the population. Right there, and those words in the zoning code is your authority, and I think an obligation to recommend the rejection of this replat. It is perhaps the best way you have and the authority you need to prevent such a future scenario. That's point 1. Point 2 is directly involving the Land Use and Development Code. Subdivision Standards Section 4-302, element or paragraph B2. And I quote, "A minimum street frontage of 60 feet shall be required for all lots." Note the emphasis there on all lots. All is a determinative adjective applying to the word lots. So I look up the meaning of all. In the American Heritage Dictionary, they say all is equal to each and every. In the Merriam-Webster Dictionary, all means every. In the dictionary.com, it says all means everyone, used to refer to every individual or particular. The Cambridge Dictionary compares all and every as determinatives and says the meaning of all.
How much more do you have?
I have two more sections.
Okay.
This one's really short.
I would like to,
You can take my time.
I would like to wrap this up in about 2 more minutes.
Okay,
Okay.
I'll shoot
Have
for
my
that.
time.
But this is an important piece because it says right in the code,
Okay,
all.
2 minutes.
Can I do that? Can I give him my time?
Sure.
Okay.
He's got 2
My
minutes.
time, Jumbo. Go ahead.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Where was I? Oh, yes. The Cambridge Dictionary says the meaning of all and every is the same. We just use them in different ways. We use all with plural nouns and every with singular nouns. The Merriam-Webster Dictionary gives us the meaning of every. Each individual or part of a group without exception. The Black's Law Dictionary says all designates the whole number of particulars, individuals, or separate items. It is equivalent to each or every. And they quote State versus Maine and Sherburne versus Cisco. The clear meaning and intention of the code is a minimum street frontage of 60 feet shall be required for each and every lot without exception. Compare. A minimum of 1 life jacket will be required for all boat passengers. Compare that with A minimum of 1 life jacket shall be required for each and every boat passenger without exception. Change the nouns as you see fit. A shared driveway fails to meet the meaning and intent of the word all in the same way a shared life jacket would fail to meet the meaning of all in a life jacket is required for all passengers. Subsequently, the developer's plan fails to meet this subdivision standard, and you have the authority there, and I think an obligation to recommend rejection. I'll skip ahead to point 3, subdivision standard section 4-0302E1. Quote, the town of Alpine discourages the creation of flag lots. Flag lots constrain the delivery of emergency services and contribute to an unplanned land use. The previous Planning and Zone Administrator evaluation report said lots 1 and 2 have not been identified as flag lots as they have approximately 148 feet of shared driveway. However, a flag lot is defined as a type of property which is shaped like a flag. A larger piece of land is connected to the street by a narrower strip of land. Lots 1 and 2 should be identified as flag lots, and then per the zoning and planning ordinances, this should, well, let's say it this way. If you recommend approval, that would not be discouraging. The standards say you should discourage that, so there again is your authority and an obligation to deny this request. And perhaps the 4th point, most important, Town Fire Code states, and I quote, Section 503.1.1. The approved fire apparatus access road shall be provided for every facility, building, or portion of a building thereafter constructed or moved into or within the jurisdiction. The fire apparatus access road shall extend to within 150 feet of all portions of a facility and all portions of the exterior walls of the first story of a building as measured by an approved route around the exterior of the building. In the previous packet, the fire chief, Exhibit 1, he said, the access has been determined to be a shared driveway, and then he goes on to say no turnaround is required. He was obviously asked if that driveway needed to have a turnaround. The point I'm making here is don't look over there. The real question has to do with fire apparatus access. Note, the fire chief in that exhibit said the access has been deemed to be a shared driveway. He's speaking in the passive voice. He doesn't say that he deemed it. He doesn't say the director of roads deemed it. He doesn't say who deemed it. So I went and I asked the fire chief, did you deem the shared driveway to be a fire apparatus access road? And he emphatically said, no, I did not. We never drive a fire truck down a private driveway. Driveways are not constructed to handle the weight of a fire truck, and they are hard to back out of. He went on to explain that he would park on Nelson Lane and drag fire hoses all the way to the back homes. He noted they carry 1,000 feet of hose, and that dragging fire hoses a long distance is a problem, much more so in the county than in town, but it is a problem. Now make no mistake about it. I have no problems with the fire chief or our fire department volunteers or our other first responders. They are brave, honorable men who risk their lives to do whatever it takes to save ours. The problem, as I see it, is the town should never ask our first responders to drag hoses, medical or other equipment, long distances over or around snowdrifts or other obstacles. A fire truck, ambulance, or other emergency vehicle parked on Nelson Lane is well over 150 feet just to the edge of the back property, and probably well over 280 feet. That's nearly the length of a football field.
Okay,
So,
all right. Any other points?
no, I'll summarize.
Okay, summarize it.
I was just gonna say, that's too far to carry a stretcher,
Yeah,
a loaded stretcher. Now,
you made your
so
point.
here's my summary. 4 reasons you should recommend rejection. Number 1, anticipate the short-term rental leasing problem created by 4 homes and exercise the purpose and intent of single-family zoning and recommend rejection. Number 2, recognize the meaning of all and the intent of the subdivision standards to require each and every lot to have 30-foot frontage. Number 3, properly recognize lot 1 and 2 as flag lots and acknowledge their obligation, discourage its creation. Number 4, the shared driveway as private property is not maintainable, enforceable, usable, or acceptable as a fire access road, and as such, building facilities on lots 1 and 2 would create an unacceptable risk to our first responders and residents, and it is a clear and direct violation of the town's fire code. People who oppose this, well,
All right. Anything else?
one thing,
One thing, quickly.
okay,
We've got another meeting after this, and
Oh,
it starts
Lord.
in about a minute and a half, and I'd like to have an opportunity for some
my
people.
final comment is about the developers who seem to want to.
I don't wanna hear about the developers.
Okay,
I'm not answering questions about the developers.
I get that.
Okay.
I'll put it this
If you
way.
have any other thing on the development, let's wrap it up.
Okay, if it comes to be that these homes are used as multi-family dwellings, which I know you
Okay,
have no
hold
control
on,
over.
we're slipping backwards. You need to, you've had your time, you've made your points, you've done a fine job. But you,
Okay,
that needs to be it. Thank you. I do appreciate your comments. All right, thank you very much. I do appreciate your comments. I just, we
I
have,
understand.
we do have other business that we're gonna get to. Okay. I see Marlowe's in
He showed up late, so.
the house.
My agenda says 7 o'clock, so.
Yeah, we're having a public meeting, over the Grice subdivision. And I believe you did the plat on the Grice subdivision. Can you clarify the 60-foot street frontage for every lot? Is that a requirement of our subdivision process? One of the questions was, it's a requirement for every lot to have 60
Yeah.
foot of street frontage.
Street fronts. You point me to that
Page 80.
development center?
Page 80.
Page 8 of what?
80.
Oh, 80. That's right where I was turning to. So in this case, oh yeah. This doesn't. You want me to come up there?
Yes.
This concept is a 60-foot shared driveway. Does it have 60 foot of frontage on the public road? No, at its present design.
That's correct. So
Is that answering your question?
that does end, I mean.
So let me back up a little bit though. So this hearing and meeting, may I remind the board, has 2 issues.
Mhm.
We went forward to council, council remanded it back for 2 issues.
Yep.
Yep, we've addressed
consistency of the master plan, I paraphrased, and compatibility with adjoining land uses. This is compatible to every lot within a quarter of a mile, and it fits your master plan.
Okay. There was just another question brought up and I thought maybe you'd like
This,
to
this
clarify.
concept of the flag lot, no, it does not have a 60-foot frontage unless it's, the access is combined. So they do not have a frontage of 60 feet. We'd have to make that 120 foot,
Okay.
which could be done.
I think the other issue of concern is having that a shared driveway and not having a turnaround for, emergency vehicles.
And/or making, I made a note of, and/or making the road structurally sound so that a fire truck that's fully loaded could go on that
And be
road.
publicly maintained.
But does it have to be? It doesn't have to be publicly maintained.
There are many driveways in this town that are not publicly maintained, I think.
Yeah.
This one is required to be asphalt and to build to a standard. So if you recall your ordinances, it has to be an asphalt road.
Okay.
And so I think it will withstand the tonnages that will come through with emergency vehicles because of that standard.
Perfect.
All right.
Question,
That's,
does that include Nelson Lane to this property?
no, I don't think it does.
It should,
Why?
That's the
because
town,
nobody maintains that road. Once a year, the town maintains that road. The last 3 falls, I maintained it.
Well-
There's holes in it that deep, nobody maintains it. And if he throws 4 new homes in there, that's 12 to 16 cars on a gravel road.
There's plenty of gravel roads that have plenty of usage in this valley. I live on
I'm
one.
not talking about the valley, we're talking about Nelson Lane.
so you'll recognize that not every town road is built the same, and the town gets to choose how they maintain those.
Right.
They control their own budget, and if they wanna go in and pave that, they've had 20 years to do that, or to maintain it. That's a choice by each town council as
All right.
they go through. Any other questions that I can answer for you?
That's all I had for you. Thank you.
But you're missing an important point here. The question I raised has to do with who can deem it a fire access road? And is the fire chief, the person who can deem it, is he willing to drive down that road in the case of a fire?
Well, if it's built to
If he's not,
if it's
then-
built to a standard, that the town requires, I would think he would be willing to drive down it.
Ask him.
Well,
That's
he's
an
driving down
important
every
thing.
other road that's built to the same standard.
He said to me that they do not drive down driveways because he has no guarantee it'll support the weight of a vehicle, and they're hard to back out of. So he doesn't choose to drive down them, which implies to me he does not approve it as a fire access. And buildings constructed according to the fire code, have to be within 150 feet of where that fire truck stops.
But somebody could build on the back corner, he could build on the back corner right now and not be within 150 feet of where the fire,
he
unless
did-
he goes down the driveway.
If he did, it would be in violation of the fire code.
So,
Would it not?
you're saying that you're saying that Barry, if he didn't subdivide this, built on the back corner, chose to build on the back corner, he'd be in violation of not being within 150 feet of a road?
Of an approved fire access road. Because it's my understanding that it is the fire chief's job to approve a road. There, if you read in that section, it talks about, turning radiuses and a whole number of things that the road must meet to qualify as something he can drive down.
This is a minor subdivision?
Yes.
Yeah. Minor subdivisions are probably, you might be looking at a major subdivision, and if it were a major subdivision, yes, you would have to do that. But this is a minor subdivision which falls under a different set of guidelines. This is a
I
two,
read
this is a
in the
4
fire
lot
code,
split.
it makes no exception for minor or major subdivisions.
I,
That's the international fire code accepted by the city.
Gotcha. Well, this is the land use development codes, what I'm going off of, and
But is it not your job as planning and zoning to make sure proposals?
I've been
meet
asked tonight
fire
to do two things, to answer two questions, both of which we have. And
code? Okay,
that's it.
okay, then I would ask you to do two things. Talk to the fire chief and talk to the lawyer about the meaning of all, the city lawyer.
Okay. Christine, got that?
Okay, I got the fire chief, I didn't understand the second one.
Town attorney.
Town
Talk to
attorney.
the county, the town attorney about the meaning of all in that
Okay,
requirement for 60.
All right, I kind of want to close this off to public, unless anybody else has a real strong desire. Go ahead.
Thank you.
We're trying to keep it brief. if
I
we can.
understand. I rehearsed for 2 minutes on the way.
Okay.
My name's Austin Dunlap. I'm an attorney. I represent the Parkin family, who are direct neighbors to this addition. I understand there's two questions to be addressed tonight, and maybe I'm misunderstanding, but if something about this proposal is in violation of the land use development code, that seems to me to not be in compliance.
Because I don't think it is.
So if it doesn't follow the land use code, that means it doesn't, it is within the comprehensive? Like, to me, that doesn't make sense. If it doesn't follow your code.
Have you reviewed the code? Have you had a chance to
Yeah.
go through it?
Yeah, and that's what I was gonna bring up, talk about the flag lot issue, because these are clearly flag lots. It's discouraged. What have you done to discourage it? Because the developer thinks, oh, they're allowed, it's no big deal. Did they offer you any other proposals, any other designs? There's plenty of options. This just maximizes profit. And so there's other design developments that don't have a flag lot. There's no topographical or geographical issues that would require a flag lot. They didn't propose anything else, to my knowledge, and I could be wrong on that. Maybe they did give you a different design. They could make long, skinny lots. If you look around the corner, I was going to ask you to put up an aerial, or I had one, but I know we're running short on time. Just around the corner, there's some longer, skinny lots that are half-acre lots, and they run the full, almost the same length as this. He didn't propose that. That would not require a flag lot. So how have you discouraged flag lot? Because that's specifically what your code says to do. And this is a planning and zoning board. It specifically says that flag lots contribute to an unplanned land use pattern. So your acceptance of it, to me, is contradictory to the point of your existence. So I would strongly encourage that. There's no other flag lots in the vicinity of this 500 foot, if that's what we're going off of, that I'm aware of. Are they in our 500 foot radius? A couple of other, let's see here, and then compatibility with the land use, or the other issue before you tonight, compatibility with the other land uses next to you. Yes, it's all residential. I mean, if that's as far as we're going, is that as deep as we're going, then yeah, you can check the box. It's compatible. But let's talk about what I want you to help me to figure out how I could get $1 every time somebody drives.
Hold on. Why are you putting so much, like, somebody bought land from somebody that divided it, who you're representing, right?
Sure.
Somebody
Well-
made profit on that, right?
Yeah. You mean my clients
everybody
bought a
wants
lot?
to talk about, we're just trying to get $1, trying to get $1. Well, we're also trying to provide housing for people to live in this town. This town, I don't know if you noticed, but it got really expensive to live in, and a lot of workers need to live here.
And you think
And would like to live and own their own house.
and you think somebody's going to be able to live and work here and own this house?
I do.
You're mistaken.
Why?
Because
Why?
this
Why
lot,
do
you know how much
say
this lot's going to cost? And what job are they going to have here? They'll be remote, maybe the remote worker,
So
or
this is a 1 acre lot. Are we gonna, who's coming in for that?
no, it'll be the same. No, this does not solve your housing crisis. If that's what's being sold to you, I've got some oceanfront property.
I'm saying that a developer or landowner has the right to use their land to the full potential of its land. Is that correct?
Yeah, but he bought them as 1 acre lots, and so then he sees, hey, the neighbor's 1 acre, everybody on this road is 1 acre.
But everybody behind them.
On Nelson Drive,
That's not true. These lots over here.
And no, they are. I think that one is, the purple one is.
No,
It's two lots, 69 and 70. And then the blue lots are 1A and 1B. They were divided years ago, evidently.
But the idea that down Nelson Drive, if you're gonna look at it,
The Monty Nelson subdivision are all big lots.
yeah, so if you're gonna look at it like that, if you go around the back, yeah, they're smaller lots, but that's a subdivision that's not including this. And so if you're just gonna include them all together, that's one thing. But if you're gonna actually distinguish, hey, that's a subdivision, subdivisions provide amenities. That's why they get away with giving smaller lots, because they say, hey, look, we have some open space. Hey, we have a park. Hey, we have, I don't know what all they have. I don't know. But these are not in a subdivision. That's why they're bigger lots. That's part of it. And so consistency along Nelson Drive.
They're not in a subdivision. You're saying these lots aren't part of a subdivision.
No, along Nelson Drive? What subdivision are they in?
So why,
yeah.
what's the problem? I mean, you're already not in a subdivision on those lots. There's no CCNRs to those lots.
No, but-
There's only land use development code.
Right?
And in the land use development code, it says the landowner has the right to do something like this.
The gentleman quoted earlier about what's the point of R1 zoning? To limit the density. And here you are, you're gonna triple or quadruple the density.
If we wanted to limit the density, we'd go in here and make everybody.
What does the code read? He just read it to you. It specifically says, do you have it? I don't have it in front of me.
But
It's-
isn't that?
R1 density says,
Isn't that opposed to high-density housing?
well, yeah, and that's not where we're at. I
We're
mean,
not doing apartments. We're
No.
not doing townhomes.
No.
We're doing individual
But you-
R1 lots.
but you're skirting the language of the R1 provision. I mean, if he can bring it up, I don't have it in front of me, but I know what it says. Limit the density, maximize the space around the buildings. And so you put a residence and you put an accessory unit, 4 of them. Like I said, I was gonna say, I wish I had $1.
There's plenty of people that live in the
All
same,
over that same
within the same neighborhood that have.
And now
the same size
now you're
lots.
back to combining Nelson Drive with the subdivision.
Yeah, but Nelson Drive is just a road.
It is just a
It's
road,
not-
but the people who live along it are not in a subdivision.
They're not in a subdivision.
No, and so I was gonna say, give me $1 every time somebody drives out Grays River and says, who approved that? When this is all built out. I wish I had $1 for every time somebody says that. Because that's what they're gonna see this and they're gonna be like, one house, oh, look, here's 4 houses, 4 residences, 4 accessory units is what they're allowed. It's gonna be so out of place. It's gonna be an eyesore. Sharing a driveway. It's very different than what's there, is what my point is to you tonight.
Okay,
So you had the two issues before you,
yeah.
and I'm addressing the second issue, the other land use. Is it compatible with the other land? Yes, it's all residential. We all know that. But like I said, if you go a step further, does it look like the rest of them? No.
Well, it doesn't look like the other 3.
Yeah.
You're talking 3 as opposed to,
How many are on Nelson Lane?
well, okay, just on Nelson Lane?
Well, yeah, because
Let's
that's,
see.
that's the
1,
neighbor,
2,
that's
3,
these
4,
people's neighborhood. This
5,
is,
6, 7, 8, 9.
okay, so there's
9.
9 there.
9 lots.
How many of them have 4?
3 of them are 1 acre. 2 of them want to be half acre. And we have 2 that are 0.5 to 0.9. And we have 2 that are 0.6 to 0.69.
Okay, and do they have how many homes do they have on? I mean, these are,
So over, like, since Mr. Grice has 2 of them, over half of these properties on Nelson Lane want to be half acre. Most everything back here, I mean, there's a couple, back here Or all half acre?
Yeah, I'm not familiar with this
No,
map. The map I saw, the only one I saw, the far blue one, 1A.
The rest of the neighborhood behind them.
No, and I agree. That's what I'm saying. I'm telling you, we either lump them all together or we don't. The people that live on Nelson Drive, they're not part of that subdivision. Yes, they back up to them. Yes, they're close to them. And, you know, I understand that. I understand that they are much smaller lots. But again, there's trade-offs when you enter a subdivision because they have amenities. That's why they do subdivisions. And so that's the difference.
All right,
That's the
anything else?
distinction. No, the only thing is, like I said, the two things in front of you, and this flag lot issue is specifically in your code. It says it's discouraged. What have you done to discourage it?
Okay,
So that's something I think that's pertinent for your review tonight, because it was specifically kicked back to you to review it.
it's
We reviewed those two things.
yeah,
So,
thank you.
yep.
All right. Appreciate your comments. Again, this is gonna go back to the town. Compelling, there's some compelling stuff in there. But as far as what we're tasked with tonight, I believe our administrator's gone through this. I believe it fits in with R1. I also believe you can't just ignore, I know you're coming off of Nelson, but you can't ignore the rest of the town behind it.
Yeah.
I really don't. So, are there any other comments?
I would agree,
Oh, what?
I'm agreeing with you that we need more housing. And if we decide we need 4 homes in there, I suggest we do it right and change that driveway into a road and put a turnaround for the safety of our firefighters.
Okay, understood. Heard and understood.
I made,
Mr. Corsa?
a point today with the mayor that there is a problem with the water line on Nelson Lane.
Okay,
You'll be hearing about that, so
Okay.
that's gonna be another problem with the subdivision.
all right, appreciate that, thank you. Okay, so as far as tonight, here's what I'd like to do. I'd like to, vote on our two questions that we have, and send it to the town.
Yeah, because we provided the information that they needed, that they requested when they threw it back to us.
I would like to. Yeah. Okay, we're gonna close public comment and I'd like a motion to, what do we need to do?
Adjourn?
Oh, do
We need to adjourn.
Yeah.
Yeah, because this has to go to, I need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn the public meeting.
Okay.
I second that motion.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. right.
Okay, meeting, a public hearing of December 12th, adjourned at
7:20.
7:20. Okay, we need to stop that tape and restart.
All right, so now we have to go to our P and Z meeting is when we actually give a recommendation of send it forward or